Mic.
Hello. Well, put the mic wherever you'd like to put it.
Well, I don't know where I want to put it,
All
but
right.
because it.
Don't you like how we are ready to go as we start? Oh yeah, just point the whole screen at you. That's fine. How we doing, everybody? Thanks for joining us, or at least one of us. And this is Common Censored Live, the live stream of Common Censored. You can also check out the podcast, also called Common Censored. We hope you will. And thank you for being here with us. We got a lot to cover. We got one, we're going to educate on people on how to clear an entire city council meeting all on your own without harming anyone. And then we'll cover how a bunch of forest defenders went after the contractors.
Did you go live on Rockfin?
I haven't yet, but I will do that now. Good call. But we'll also get into how a bunch of forest defenders went after the contractors who are destroying those forests. We'll get into you want to intro just
the lone wolf syndrome?
Yes. I was going to say, do you want to shrink that down to one sentence? You did great. And we'll get into a lot more, hopefully. So we'll do all of this. This will all be happening. And thanks to you, it can happen. Go to leecamp.net if you want to support the work. But I'll talk more about that later. Let's get started. And by the way, the first 15 minutes of this will be live on multi-platforms. But after...
Thanks, Loner Weirdo.
Thank you, Loner Weirdo. After about 15 or 20 minutes, it will continue on rumble.com/LeeCamp. It's free for anyone. You can watch it all there. You can comment, rumble.com/LeeCamp. All right, let's get going. And let's start with an awesome action. Happens to be by a friend of ours. And it's just, I think it exemplifies a non-violent way of interrupting business as usual. Mm-hmm. And correct me if I miss anything here, but basically, you guys remember all of the George Floyd protests, the Black Lives Matter protests, a lot of what those said, and Baltimore was one of the key places that was going on. A lot of those said, hey, our police are violent, they're awful, they need change, we need to overhaul the way policing is done in this country, accountability, etc. So as the slow process of government, even local government like Baltimore moves forward.
This was Annapolis, but yes.
Oh, sorry, it was Annapolis?
Yeah. Which is close, for those who don't know, it's close to Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah. Not that far away, but sorry, Annapolis. But you see the slow gears of government saying, oh, we're going to do something, right? During those protests, they said, we're going to do something. You know what? You guys are right. Thousands of you outside my door are correct, and I'm going to get right on that. So they've been having these meetings, and they put forward a bill to hold police accountable, to change things. And if you actually read the bill, if you actually get into it, it's been completely defanged, watered down, diluted. It basically says that police accountability should still go through the police department first, which is basically like, hey, foxes, could you guard this hen house and tell us what you think of it? You know, is the fence high enough? That kind of thing. So
it bolsters the white supremacist police state.
Yep.
Which is what we've seen through in a lot of places, right? People say that, yes, we're going to work harder on police accountability. We're going to make sure that police are less violent, i.e. not just shooting people for no fucking reason. And then what you end up seeing is that the police are then put in charge of these endeavors, which means that it's not actually an accountability effort by the community. And you see more police put into communities, predominantly Black and brown communities, because, we needed to make sure that there wasn't as much crime. So we needed more police, and you guys wanted accountability. So we had to have more police because of, we needed police for the accountability issue. And it just becomes this large circle jerk of the police state. And this is really what we saw happen with this Annapolis bill. And this friend of ours who has worked very, very tirelessly and very closely with his local community and the city council, and both people in the grassroots organizing efforts and in places of actual public office, and basically this bill came to be known as a turd of a bill.
Yeah, he and others started using the phrase regularly. This is a turd of a bill. Don't pass this turd of a bill. And then he went forward to show up at the city council one day dressed as a turd.
Do we have pictures?
To represent the turd of the bill. And this will show you ultimately how it ended. Oh, I know. So here's one of the articles. Man in poop emoji costume disrupts Maryland City County Council meeting with a stink bomb.
Can I just say that's the best headline I've ever read?
So he took a military grade stink bomb and
which I don't know what makes it military grade.
high level stink. I don't know if you want to come up with an analogy for what kind of stink this probably involved, but imagine Hillary Clinton unbathed after weeks of living in a basement. So he quietly releases this stink bomb in his seat at the city council, where he and others have said over and over that they should not pass this bill. It's a turd of a bill, and it is not actually holding the police accountable. And it quietly and effectively clears the entire city council meeting. They all have to leave. And anyway, it did something that's an important part of activism, which is interrupt business as usual. Mm-hmm. And this definitely did interrupt business as usual.
Yeah, no, it absolutely did. And I think that this is one of those important moments where we see, okay, how can we, instead of just, doing something where we like wear a shirt that says, don't pass this bill, or where we're protesting outside, you actually stop the machine from moving forward. You throw some shit into the gears. You throw a stick into the bicycle wheel.
You throw a stink into the bicycle wheel.
Yeah. So, and I think, and this is not to discount various types of tactics, but it's to show the power of actually disrupting something so that it has to shut down. If he were outside wearing that poop emoji, I think there's a 95% chance that nobody would have commented on it. No media would have reported it.
Right, wouldn't have been
It
covered,
would have just been like, okay, there's just some fucking weirdo wearing a shit costume outside of this council meeting. But when you actually disrupt their ability to move forward with business as usual, even if it's just like, for that afternoon, there is power in that, if for no other reason that I think it's twofold. One, that you show them that they're not going to be able to pass this kind of legislation without people watching them. And having spoken to him after the fact, it's quite clear that he has since made that clear, like, hey, y'all, I'm still watching you from my poop emoji quarters. And then the other part of this that I think is really important is that it shows people that there are creative ways to fight against the system, even if you're just by yourself. And of course, this is not to discount the concept of working together and collaborative efforts. And I know that this person works, a lot in collaborative spaces and with people, and actually, talked about this action with a lot of people. So I'm not trying to make it sound like everyone go out on their own and do their own thing. But I think it's also powerful to highlight that you don't need a group of 10,000 people to disrupt something, right? You don't need that many people to throw a wrench into the gears. And I think that these are two powerful lessons that we can learn from an action like this.
And although this is obviously something that's funny, it's both cute and funny. He's dressed as a poop emoji. That type of creativity does get people's attention. It does get these garbage mainstream media outlets that don't cover anything important to actually talk about it. But at the heart of this is something incredibly important. And I don't think that should get lost just because the action was also funny, and I don't think it does. At the heart of this is people being abused and sometimes even killed by our police in this country, and how bought off and controlled and captured our city councils are, our state governments, our federal government, and how none of them actually stand up against these police officers, the fist of the fascist state, and their behavior in the way this system is set up.
And to answer your question, rolling fire dragon, which I like that sound. Did he get charged? Well, there was actually at the time he was not arrested for anything, but the police then later came to his home to charge him
with disrupting the peace.
Which, if folks have ever been a part of any action, or you've heard about these kind of actions, disturbing the peace is kind of like a blanket that they throw over any activist when they don't really have anything concrete. They can't really think of something specific, so they just say disturbing the peace because it's easy, right? It's a kind of catch-all term, like loitering,
like resisting arrest,
right?
They just beat you in the head and yell, "Stop hitting me! Stop resisting!"
Right? Yeah. It's like, I can just use this and I can jot this down in my little police report, and I got you. Which is kind of ironic because disturbing the peace is really what the cops do. They disrupt any attempt that people, in these communities have at trying to survive and thrive. They disrupt that ability. So it's ironic that he's getting charged with disrupting the peace, but welcome to America. So he's actually started a fundraiser to address the charges against him, the disturbing the peace, and also as a part of this to bring more publicity to this, because I think this is a really powerful moment.
This is on GoFundMe, by the way.
Yes. I think this is a really powerful moment to say, like, hey, how can we use this action and then the fallout from this action to continue the spotlight, to continue to put the spotlight on the city council for this atrocious bill that they're pushing forward, which really upholds and pedestals white supremacy in this part of Maryland. So we're sharing this with y'all. Please do support it if you can. Is there an actual link that we have there, or?
Yeah, bit.ly/ something like stinking turd or something. But if you go to GoFundMe and you type in turd, I think it's like, why don't
you just put that and put it in the stream?
Well, I can do that,
okay.
But I didn't want to read that to them because reading that would be useless.
No, I know. I was just saying post it.
Yeah, so we're putting it in the comment section, okay. But I know a lot of you might be listening to this or whatever. So just go to GoFundMe and type in a search for the word turd, TURD, and I'm pretty sure it's just about the only thing that comes up.
And I will also,
City Council's stinking turd is the headline.
County Council stinking turd.
Sorry, County Council.
I will also share it on my Twitter and my Instagram. So if y'all follow me at Radical Eleanor, then you will be able to find it there.
By the way, he just got this up like an hour ago. So this fundraiser for him has just started. But the goal, I assume, with him, as with most activists that effectively interrupt anything, is to drain all their resources via legal proceedings. So he's trying to raise $3,000. Chances are he will need that money for legal proceedings. Mm-hmm. So hopefully you guys can help with that.
Yeah. And again, this is a great way to continue to shine the spotlight, because as we've seen with other fights, the fight is pretty powerful inside of courtrooms, because it does allow people to highlight issues that they weren't able to bring up in that moment in the action, for instance, to really, give voice to the specifics of exactly what they were fighting. And then that becomes part of the media coverage of this court case. So a court case, while it obviously sucks, I'm not trying to romanticize having to go to court. It fucking sucks. But it does allow activists and organizations a space and a platform potentially to continue to raise these issues and potentially win some ground. And again, push these endeavors forward. So
I just hate sitting still. So court sounds like fucking hell.
Yeah, no, court is balls. I'm not trying to say like, yeah, let's all try to go to court. It sucks. But I'm saying that, the silver lining here, it could be significant.
So we want to move on. And by the way, in a few minutes, we will be cutting off the live streams other than the Rumble live stream. So if you want to stay with us, please go to rumble.com/LeeCamp. It's free. It's free to comment over there as well. So we will be checking the comments there as well. But rumble.com/LeeCamp in a few minutes. The other streams will cut off. But I want to move to another story here, which is also about disrupting business as usual. Do you want to start off? I'll tell them about the construction of Cop City, but do you want to talk about the forest in Atlanta?
Sure. So when I say the word Atlanta, most people don't think, oh, forest. But in fact,
you mean a forest of asphalt?
In fact, there's Atlanta is sometimes termed the city in a forest, and there has recently been a very big push to defend a forest that is part of Atlanta. From what has come to be known as Cop City, and it's really this like it's not just for cops. It's like this creepy, disgusting, twisted amalgamation of Hollywood and the prison industrial complex, and the military and police industrial complex. So it's also going to be built as a soundstage or a place where Hollywood can film. Specifically with regards to cops and anything that has to do with police and that kind of that side of culture, as they would put it.
And I've talked a lot, and even in the last episode, about how much Hollywood has been essentially captured by the police and the Pentagon and the military industrial complex. So a lot of that is filmed in Atlanta.
And of course, this is something that I also covered on Project Censored Radio, which is a radio show that I now co-host a couple of times a month. And from April 5th, you can go listen on projectcensored.org. You can go listen to an interview that I had with a person from the Atlanta Forest / Stop Cop City movement about this initiative and how this initiative is a powerful combination and intersection of issues, including, of course, the prison industrial complex, police brutality, Hollywood, and the glamorization, the romanticization of white supremacy and police violence, and also gentrification. The idea that this place is going to be built in a green space that most Black and brown communities in the United States don't have access to these green spaces. So this would be a bulldozing of a green space. And the amazing ways that these folks, Defend Atlanta Forest folks, are coming up with to really highlight the importance of these green spaces, and also the importance of standing against police brutality and this kind of project, and the kind of things that they've been doing, whether that's been hosting concerts in the forest. So people come out to the forest and that's become like a cultural space for them to hang out with. They've been doing nature walks and just really cool shit to bring people into this space. So it's not just a place of resistance, but it's a place of growth. It's a place to be in community with one another, and a place to envision okay, how could this space be if it was a community space and it wasn't a space about glamorizing white supremacy and glamorizing police brutality? And I think that's just such a beautiful idea. And so these folks, Defend Atlanta Forest, Stop Cop City folks, have been doing this work. And recently, as Lee's about to share, there was an action.
So yes, the contractor that is in charge of building this Cop City in the forest is called Brasfield and Gorey, I think it's pronounced. And they basically attacked or maybe that's the mainstream media term being used, but they went after the general contractor's office. And I'll read a couple of sentences. A crowd of about 80 masked protesters descended upon the Atlanta corporate offices of Brasfield and Gorey on Thursday. Brasfield and Gorey are the general contractors hired to build a public safety training center, quote unquote, or Cop City, in the Atlanta forest. Protesters marched down the street in a group, swarming the buildings, setting upon it with fireworks, spray paint, and projectiles. Drummers beat out a rhythm. They chanted "Stop Cop City." Several large fireworks were thrown at the building. Slogans were scrawled on the exterior, reading "No forest, no peace. Trees, cutting trees, not cops," and "Defend the Atlanta forest." Paint bombs smashed across the face of the building as well. So a lot. They did a lot, we'll say. And I actually haven't watched this 1 minute video, but we can play this, I guess.
Yeah, go for it.
Drop City, Drop City, Drop City.
Can I just take a moment to highlight something that's really rad and really powerful about this video, aside from just the general content? So you'll notice that there was a lot of, kind of video editing that was used to blur whenever, people's full bodies were in view. And when people were banging on the cop car, you saw that they were only showing like from their chest down, and they were wearing clothes. So you couldn't see like identifying factors like if they had tattoos on their arms or legs. I think this is really important for folks who might be doing, even if you don't think of yourself as a journalist, let's say that you are at a protest and you're live streaming because you have a page and you're like, hey, I want to live stream. I think this is a really powerful point to bring up, because you are by live streaming, unfortunately, cops and, the FBI and things like that, law enforcement agencies in general, will oftentimes use live streams that are done, because you're like there to support or whatever, that are done with good intentions, but they will use those to identify people and then go after them and make their lives a fucking living hell. So I think, just really quick to highlight how that video was edited and how that was posted is really beautiful and a really powerful way of making sure that the message is still put forward. You're very clear on what the action was. You're very clear on what the message was, and yet nothing is identifiable about the people who were partaking in the action. So from a journalistic and video standpoint, I just wanted to highlight that for anyone who might be, on the front lines and doing some video work.
And speaking of journalistic understanding, you had a great list. They put out a list of how the mainstream media may soon cover this.
Yes.
Which I liked.
So actually, if you go to defendtheatlantaforest.org,
I refuse.
It's a website, and you can find more information about what they're doing. And there was actually a post that they shared about how it was called Preemptive Response to Media Attacks on Defend the Atlanta Forest. And as someone who deals a lot with media literacy and, how we're lied to, how we're propagandized, I thought this was a really powerful post. Basically, I'm fucking fangirling. If you hadn't noticed already, I fucking love Defend the Atlanta Forest and all of the shit that they do. And I want to be friends with all of them. And yeah. So
yeah, it's actually getting a little awkward. If you want me to leave you two alone, then
I'm just going to start stroking the screen here. So basically, it was,
if we get 5 donations, Eleanor will start stroking the screen.
No, she will not. But this was a really interesting post, because they were talking about what you're likely to see in corporate media with regards to what is going on in the Atlanta forest as people try to protect this place from this horrific fucking endeavor. And a couple of headlines that they wrote up as potentials. You quote, officials say criminals have hijacked local protest movement. Public workers struggle to protect local business as activists attack police. New facility aims to teach officers less lethal techniques.
Yeah, right. I love that one. It's like, yes, we are bulldozing the forest. We are putting this thing for police officers, but it's to train them to be nicer.
Right. construction company under attack, just trying to do their jobs. And I mean, these are so like, and we laugh, but you've heard shit like this before, right? Like, the local business under attack, and you're like, oh, that sounds awful. Like mom and pop shops are fucking under attack, and it's like, no, this is literally like the largest, police industrial complex in the world. It's not a mom and pop shop, okay? It's not your local bodega down the street that's getting fucked up. And of course, this is how this is spun to ensure that public opinion veers away from its own interest, right? So that you end up fighting against your own interest. You end up fighting against having green space where you live. You end up fighting against your neighbors and their ability to stay in the neighborhood. And because of gentrification, you end up fighting for the police as their boots sit squarely on your neck. And I mean, this is super twisted, but this is how this works. And I think it's a really powerful commentary on why it's really important to pay attention to how media spins this, and also then go to the source and hear about, what we are trying to protect, why we're trying to protect it, what is at stake here, what is actually this project about, like what are they really trying to do here in terms of a training facility and bringing in Hollywood to glamorize and romanticize police brutality. And they also in this post talk about proposed alternatives. And what can we dream and what can we imagine the space to be? Like I said, they've been doing nature walks, they've been doing concerts in there. Like, what can we create that would actually be for the community and for public health and public interest that obviously a cop city could never be? So I think it's a really powerful commentary. I recommend that you guys check out that post. Go to the website defendtheatlantaforest.org. You can also follow them on Twitter at defendatlforest. I believe it's the same tag or the same name on Instagram as well.
Okay, couple of quick things. We have plenty of cool topics coming up. We're going to cover the fucking insanity that the U.S. Peace Corps just posted about Ukraine. That's a good one. And several other things. But we're only doing that at rumble.com/LeeCamp. So go over there, click subscribe. I don't know if they have a bell thing to be alerted, but click that as well if they do. But rumble.com/LeeCamp, free to be over there, free to comment. So please join us over there. If you also like our content but don't have time to watch this whole thing, please check out the podcast version, Common Censored. All right, we will continue, but we will say goodbye to those of you who refuse to come to rumble.com/LeeCamp, but we love you anyway. You guys are awesome. We love you anyway, and let's keep it going.
Just take that exit, man. Do it.
All right. So while I do this, if you want to
play some on hold music,
no, start talking about that. I don't want any goddamn hold music. Jesus. If you want to start talking about this story.
Yes. So y'all might have noticed, or you maybe didn't because it's just like a regular fucking day in the land of the free. There have been a couple of mass shootings as of late.
Just a few.
And
just like one, I think we're averaging one a day, which ain't bad for us,
it's one a day. It's like a